Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the Nashville Power BI user group. We are glad you are here and took some time out to get talk about Power BI with us. Appreciate you being on. As always, if you can post where you are coming from in the chat, that'd be great so we can understand our audience and who is coming from where. We'd love to see where everybody's coming from. I will go ahead and share my screen. Let's get into it. All right, so this National Power BI User Group, September 2025. Thank you all for spending some lunchtime with us. Excited for our speaker today. This is going to be phenomenal content. Look forward to hearing what John has to say. Next slide. So our agenda today, we're going to have some announcements, talk about what user groups are doing locally, and then stuff that's happening in the FabCon, Fabric world as well. Job opportunities. So we always love to promote and connect, right? Especially with the stuff going on. If you have a job or know someone who's hiring, or if you're looking for a job, raise your hand. Now's the time to speak. Whenever we get to that point, we want to make sure that we are networking. We don't want to just be consumers of content. We want to make sure that we're networking. We'll quickly go through what's new in Power BI, Microsoft Fabric, and in Excel, and then pass it over to John to go through a fantastic presentation. National Power BI user group, we're growing. We're at 2,113 members. I would love to get to 3,000 members. Actually, let me shoot smaller. Let's get to 2,500 members by the end of the year. I think we can get there. We're doing some great stuff. And as always, we are part of the Microsoft Fabric user group network. So there are now 59 groups in that big network of everything in the USA and other parts. So part of being that, so look forward to seeing some resources and different things that we're seeing from being part of that network that we'll implement here. Future meetings on Thursday, October 16th, we'll have Semantic Link Labs, a link to the future. And then Thursday, November 20th, supercharge your Power BI development with AI agents and NPCs. Some fantastic stuff coming along with that. Semantic Link, you can do some really, really cool things with Semantic Link. And then AI is everywhere, but how do you leverage AI agents, NPCs, and different things to be a much better Power BI developer? I definitely think even at FabCon Vienna just now, there was some stuff launched where I think Power BI announced that they launched their own NPC server. So a lot of good stuff coming on. There's a lot of good things coming on out there. So check it out on these next two future meetings. And then December, we will likely have a winter social with other user groups in the city. We had our summer one, which was really fun. And then in December, we'll likely have another just winter social with the different user groups. And it's a great time. So plan for that. But as soon as we pick out a date, we'll let you all know. Call for speakers. We're always looking for speakers. We have speakers for the rest of this year, which is phenomenal. Now we're planning for 2026. Can't believe it's going to be 2026. Wild to say out loud. But if you're interested in speaking, let us know. We love to have speakers, local, non-local, wherever you are. If you're like, I've never spoken before, but I would love to come speak, let us know. If you're like, I'm nervous and I've never done this, we can co-partner and speak together, where you can do 10, 15 minutes and somebody from the leadership crew does 10, 15 minutes or whatever. We're always looking for ways to get exposure for speakers and get out there. So if you're nervous, don't be nervous. It's a really chill environment to get out there, and speaking is a lot. It's just a lot of fun. It makes your career better, makes you better, and just go do it. And we all have something to say. So if you're looking for an excuse to speak about Power BI or anything that you want to talk about, let us know. We're always looking for speakers. If you are interested, go to sessionize.com, Nashville Power BI user group, scan the QR code, and you can put your session there, and we will review them, or just reach out to us directly. We're all personable and accessible. So me, Mike, and other Mike as well. We're all really chill and cool. So always want to just promote the people and get people up and running. All right, in the local city, data engineering and data science, they have a night with Oracle that is full. It is next Wednesday, so I didn't put it on here, but there is an event that is going on if you go to their user meetup groups. Oracle is big in Nashville, and they're going to be on a massive hiring journey to get more people in there. So night with Oracle, if you go to their meetups, there's a lot of good stuff there. I think you can still sign up virtually. I didn't check before this call, but I think there is a virtual link to that if you can. But those are just two things that they have going on in October. I think they're trying to combine that. And then October 21st, the Nashville Data Nerds, Brilliant Women in Data, have a morning breakfast. The link here is in the description. And as always, Glenn is phenomenal, who helps run that, and just a really great opportunity for brilliant women in data to connect. DataTune 2026. So it is in planning motion now. I think Ed and the leadership team for DataTune just announced speaker submissions. So if you are thinking about submitting to speak, check out datatuneconference.com. If you never heard of datatuneconference.com, it is a very new conference. It's in year 2, and the goal of it is to not be so product driven. It's not a Microsoft, it's not a Databricks, it's not a Snowflake. It is technology conference that brings everything all together in one place in one moment, and a lot of pre-conference, but then there's also conferences as well. And it's really just opportunity to connect with people. There's a good mix of executives who are, CEOs, CIOs, CTOs, but then you have a mixture of developers who are in the weeds as well. So year 2 expected to grow. And I think it's at Belmont again this year, but look forward to it. So check it out, mark it down on your calendars. And if you want to speak at that, submit, you can. SQL Saturdays are off and to the races. Microsoft FabCon just closed in Vienna. So the next ones coming up are Boston, Minnesota, Orlando, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Toronto, Houston, and then Oregon and Southwest Washington, November 15th. I think the one November 15th in Washington will be after Pass Summit. So if you plan on going to Pass Summit, you can stay a little bit longer and go to a SQL Saturday up there. But go to SQLSaturday.com, check it out. Submit to these sessions or just go visit, and it'd be a great time. Memphis Microsoft Community Days is in Memphis, 3-hour drive. I think Mike McKinley, he's speaking too. We're both speaking at this Memphis Microsoft Community Days. It will be on the 3rd of October in Microsoft office. Check it out. Community Days are great. It's really cool to see what's happening in the entire Microsoft ecosystem. I presented in Nashville this year, and I learned more about what is happening in the Microsoft outside of just Power BI and some of the cool tools that are there. So the community days are awesome. You just see a lot of Copilot things. You see a lot of just different technologies that Microsoft has and a lot of different things. So if you're looking for a way and you have some training hours or anything happening at your organization, just drive up to Memphis. It's a quick drive and a lot of good content out there. So check out community days and it'll be a good time. Community Summit North America, October 19th through 23rd, Gaylord. Another community days that's out there, similar concept. You can see what a lot of people are doing and a lot of cool stuff was happening. Past Data Community Summit, November 17th through the 21st, Seattle, always a great time. I'll be out there this year. So if you plan on going from Nashville, hit me up. We can figure out a way to grab lunch or coffee or something while we're there. But always a good time. I'll be out there for a few days and there'll just be a lot of good sessions, a lot of good stuff. I think the schedule is actually live. So you can see who's presenting this year. But go check it out. A lot of good stuff there. And then next year, Microsoft Fabric Community Conference is in Atlanta, Georgia. I believe submissions for speaking is available now. So if you're thinking about submitting, be thinking about it, go to fabcon.com. This thing is growing. Vegas was massive this year, and I bet Atlanta's just going to be even more bigger just because of where it's at in regards to region and different costs and everything. So think about it. If you're doing planning for trainings and conferences for 2026, I would definitely recommend this one be on there. Use code Microsoft ATL for $200 discount on top of the current super early bird pricing. But this was a really great conference. A lot of great stuff, and I expect to see more announcements, just like how they had in Vienna. In 2026, I expect to see a lot more announcements and stuff out there. But put this on your books. It's going to be great. It was a lot of fun last year. I expect this one to be a lot of fun too. And this is an old slide, but Mike McKinley did a Power BI training. He'll likely do this again for another day. But June 9th, it went really well, and he'll probably do it again. So when it's updated, I'll have an updated slide. All right, job opportunities. So before I pass it to you, Mike Hewitt, I'll pause and see if anybody has any opportunities that they want to discuss before I pass it over to you. And again, we're just trying to highlight and give people opportunities to, highlight what they're looking for, what type of roles, and just reach out. So I'll give it a couple minutes. Don't see anything in the chat.
Executive.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, this is Sean Kofoid. I am Chief Data Officer over at Cardiovascular Associates of America. We are a 29 practice cardiovascular roll-up that has a VBC wing. I'm looking for a Senior Director of Medical Economics to lead the VBC analytics function and MedEcon. So if anybody's interested, please hit me up in the chat or on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you. And then I guess a little bit more intel, like what type of responsibilities, what type of platforms, what type of role, like, what exactly are you looking for this role?
Yeah, so this is it's going to be a fairly rangy role. So it'll be working both with our value-based care team for operational analytics and with the same team for doing opportunity assessments and medical economics work on the BBC contracting side. Mix of hands-on and people leading. There's a team of two analysts already in place, both people I hired and think are just absolutely fantastic. So maybe a good team that you'll work with, but we'll probably be around 70% hands-on work that is going to be a mixture of SQL and Snowflake, Power BI as a front end, and kind of the usual Excel reconciliations that you end up doing on the MedEcon side.
So thanks so much. Appreciate that. Sound like a great opportunity. Hit up Sean. Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. So reach out to him if you're on the job market. And with that, if no one else, Michael Hewitt, I'll pass it to you.
Yeah, thanks, AQ. I've got a BI developer role open, looking for somebody around, 3 years of experience or so. It's going to be kind of 50% analyst, 50% engineer. So I'm doing a lot of work in Fabric. It will be an on-site role in Franklin, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. So lots of work in Fabric, Power BI, DAX, Python, with lots of opportunity for us to grow an analytics practice here at Hunt Brothers and do a lot of really cool stuff. So if you're interested or you know somebody who's interested, you can hit me up in the chat. Find me on LinkedIn. Shouldn't be too difficult if we're not already connected, but either one of those ways are the best ways to get in touch, and we'll take it from there.
Thanks so much. So two great opportunities, two great people to work for. I respect them highly. So check it out, and looking for the roles. And if you come across something while we're in the meeting, go ahead and post it in the chat as well. So we're always looking for that. And then you can reach out to us and we can pass it on as well. So next steps, what's new in Power BI? A lot of good stuff. Recently in community, they had a Power BI Database World Champion, Paulo Grigio. Saw that this morning, so I added that to the notes, but he did win. I haven't seen any type of content or what he actually did, but it had to be really fire if he won. So shout out to Paulo. Follow him on LinkedIn if you see it. General Bing map visual icon will be removed forever. It's a joke, but it will be removed from the default visuals list on the visualizations pane. But the biggest piece from a data modeling perspective, a lot of cool things came out. So if you're on LinkedIn or the different social media things, you see people probably raging over DAX user-defined functions. They are in preview right now, but there's a lot of good content out there from SQL BI. I watched a couple of videos on it, a lot of good stuff. Another cool one that I saw is refresh data on schema, refresh data or schema options in Power BI, which I thought was really cool. Sometimes you can just refresh it and you just need the data. I don't really need to change my schema, but just the data itself. And then another one I saw, Power BI content shared in Teams is now open in a separate window. So I thought that's really cool if you're posting out content and instead of you just having to go back and forth within the Teams itself, you can actually pop out a separate window and still interact with the Power BI desktop, which I think is pretty cool. But first, let me dive into DAX user-defined functions. So one thing that I am going to be fully transparent on, I was like, I don't even know what a user-defined function is. So I went into just mode of researching and just from a general understanding, been here forever, right? So I went straight to Wikipedia, which is everybody's best source, but a user-defined function has been here before Power BI. So if you started looking about this and there's any confusion on what it wasn't necessarily Power BI develop it. It's just based on different things. Like even in a database perspective is out there. So relational databases and different things of that nature. So I just want to call it out as people start to look at it. It's just like what is this thing? It's out there. This breaks it down really well, just like the basis of what a user-defined function is and information in Wikipedia. But one thing I did read was SQL BI. And there's a really good video from Marco and Alberto. Alberto released a video on the 16th on Tuesday that basically summarized what this function is. And it gave a really good overview, a lot of good information, what it is, and kind of how the goal of it is to replace some of your code or programming language that you would do automatically, and then you just reference that function to do it automatically. So, in DAX, if we're used to doing a whole bunch of switch statements and lookups and different things of that nature, we could then ingest that into a function, and then we just change the measures, and it could do some of that calculations for us. But they have a really cool video out there. It's about a 20-minute watch, which isn't awful. I was able to do it after a day of work, and it still retains some of it. So it's a good watch if you have time to go check it out. Another thing they have out here is daxlibrary.org. And so one thing they've launched is another product, another website, and they have pre-built packages out here for you that you can go and actually start trying out yourself. So in essence, if you come in here, you can look at, I don't know, DAX patterns, for example. If you want to see the code that makes up the functions, you can come out here, and it is TMDL, so TMDL. And you can come out here and reference these functions that are pre-built, and you can walk through it and read it and look at it, and you can see it. And so there's some stuff that's pre-built out here. They're naturally going to grow and build out a lot of stuff because that's what they do. They do amazing stuff. But check out this website. They'll read more into it about some of the functions that they have and then how people are using it. And then there's just a lot of content out there. So I think these functions are going to be pretty huge. And there's a lot of good stuff with it. When it comes to where it's at within Power BI, you go to your DAX view, these are like your actual functions, so you can do that. And in the script I showed you all, if you have TMDL open, you can come in here and download the script, run the script, and then you will get these functions in here to the right side. So again, I'm still learning this stuff. I'm not gonna act like I'm like the biggest expert on it, but at least understand how to create a function and copy and paste from a website from people that know how. So it'll be a learning process to pick it up, but I think there'll be some really cool stuff. And then as I mentioned on the refresh side, you can come in here if you updated your Power BI desktop. If you come in here and right-click refresh, you should see schema. You can refresh your schema or you can refresh your data. So this is really cool if you're doing stuff within Fabric. If you're doing things like direct query, direct connection to one lake or different things of that nature. You might just need to refresh your schema, not necessarily data, or you might need to refresh your data. You only care about refreshing schema, right? Different things of that nature. So it gives you some flexibility there when you're doing like your manual refreshes. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then visualizations, a lot of good stuff out there, new visuals that are out there. So what's new in Fabric? A lot of cool stuff out there. There is still a big push for Fabric to get certified. So go for the DP 600, 700. I think there's another one. There's still a 50% off code, so go out there and Google it. I definitely recommend it. I know I have the 600, Michael Hewitt has the 700, and both those tests really challenged us. There's still free live learning sessions for data engineers to pick it up. So go for it. Just push and you'll learn more about Fabric. From the data warehouse, there is a merge transaction migration assistant as well, Copilot, MS SQL extension, real-time intelligence, introducing maps and fabrics, and then Activator just got 10 more X powerful. So if you do anything with Activator, a lot of good stuff on there to get you more real-time results. And in Excel, there is some pretty cool stuff in here. We are looking at Copilot. So there's some cool Copilot stuff going on. We can use your Copilot function if you're an insider. So your Copilot allows you to do a lot of cool things and update your workflows. A lot of good stuff for that one. And then Excel for Windows and Webs. There's an explain this formula feature in here that's leveraging Copilot. So if you're like, I don't really know what this is doing, you can explain it and it will natural language and give you an insight of what it's doing. And that way you can understand exactly what it's doing. So a lot of cool stuff with AI, a lot of good stuff with Copilot. You're going to see it across products at Microsoft. And they just got a lot of cool things going on.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. So today I want to introduce you to a tool that we've published out on the web called Power Query Lint. And this is kind of the background of it is over the last like 10 years as I've been working with Power Query and working with others on teams, we've saw a lot of the same issues that we wanted to correct before it reaches production and help Power BI developers improve how they're building their their tooling, and especially building out whether they're pulling data into Power Pivot or they're building data flows. Wanted to make that more consistent and avoid those pitfalls that I've stumbled across and other folks have stumbled across. So we've published this tool, and I want to introduce you to that. But before I do that, let me just switch slides here. A little bit about me. My name is John Kerski. I'm a Microsoft MVP for a couple years now, and I've been working in the Microsoft BI stack for well over 10 years. Kind of got introduced to Power BI through Power Pivot in the SharePoint realm. So I actually have a lot of SharePoint experience. And very quickly, as we were expanding the use of Power BI, we looked at ways, how do we manage that growth? How do we make sure that we're consistently building our semantic models correctly? And that kind of led me to get a PMP, which is a project management certification. And so a lot of kind of the basis for what I'm going to show you today is this kind of from the lens of somebody who's a technical lead on a project for Power BI or any sort of Power Query product. Just how do we manage it so that if we have 3, 4, 5 developers, even scaling up even further, we can have some consistency, as well as what is it like if we inherit that semantic model? Does it meet best practices, and is it easy to understand? And so everything I'm going to cover today, I'll have the slides. They're actually available on GitHub. And if you have any questions after this you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I also post regularly on my blog, and then we'll also have some links you can see down there in the footer, which is Power Query Lint, which is the product I want to show you all today. I work for a company called Client First Technologies. We do consulting both in the federal and commercial sector around Power Platform. So that's not just around Power BI. We do Power Platform as well as Copilot and the Fabric data agents. So if you're interested, please reach out. All right, so the agenda for this presentation, I want to kind of lay the foundation for what the challenge is with building Power BI semantic models and using Power Query is, at least from my perspective, just working in the industry for a number of years, and then introduce you to Power Query Lint. And then there'll be less slide time and more demo time so you can use this tool. And a lot of the features I'm going to show you today are free. There is a paid version of this tool, but if you're just getting started and you're trying to figure it out, you can go to the website now and use a lot of the features. So what we're hoping to do is make you a better Power Query and Power BI developer, and this tool can help that, especially if you're new to working with the Power BI desktop application. All right, I don't have the chat window up, but Michael, if something comes up, somebody's got a question, please feel free to interrupt me. We've got plenty of folks on. So the challenge. If you've worked with Power BI, you've probably seen some of these screens before. And as somebody who's had to review a Power Query file, or either in Power Pivot or data flows or semantic models, this should be very familiar to you. It's on the left-hand side is the applied steps for a table in Power BI, and on the right is the manage parameters. And maybe you've assigned a task for somebody to go ahead and integrate multiple data points from SQL, maybe an API call, merge that data to build a report, and you need to do the review. They're maybe new to Power BI, and you want to make sure that everything is good, so the refreshes are good, it's maintainable code, and you're not going to run into any of those issues. So what could possibly go wrong if you're looking at this screen? Well, first, the sort rows and remove duplicates. Very classic Power Query issue you can run into, where if you've sorted content and you want to remove content based on the most recent, if you don't use a table.buffer function, which isn't necessarily built into the low-code click, you'll get a weird behavior when you publish this. It will stream the data and not necessarily preserve the sort order. Classic issue. I'll get a phone call from somebody like, hey, I sorted the SharePoint list and I wanted to remove the duplicates based on title, and it looks like it's not working. That's an issue. The other one, you're looking at this, and now I've seen added custom 3. I know, I think my longest one I've seen like added custom 25. If you're trying to manage or update this code maybe 3 months from now, your future self is going to be like, well, where was that column that I need to fix? It's added custom 3, doesn't provide a lot of details, and makes the code less maintainable. It also just is a waste of time for you. If you don't properly comment your code and you got to come back to 3 months, you're going to be clicking through all those steps to try to figure out where they added a column or where you added a column. And every time you click on those steps, that's time spent on the processing for desktop. So you're going to be hunting and pecking through applied steps just to find that code. And then finally, there's a bunch of chain types. I've seen a lot where you add a custom column and then you change the type. You add a custom column, change the type, or you merge and you change the types. Every time you add a step in Power Query, you are adding more processing time. And depending on where those steps are, whether it's after a sort or a merge, that could have a snowball effect in how long it takes to refresh. And I've seen this a lot with SQL sources and SharePoint sources, that everything looks fine, and then as it grows, these additional steps compound the issue of the refresh. And maybe a refresh only took 10 minutes when you were just getting started, but over a year's time, now it's taken an hour, and folks are going, why is the data old? We just updated it. And then when you look at like managed parameters, there's a bunch of these quote unquote like minefields that you could run into. And by default, if you set up a parameter and the type is any, and that's something that maybe in a deployment pipeline or in the service you want to update, if it's set to the any type, you can't update it. And that's one of those things where you get through, you get everything set up, you hit publish, and you go to the service, and maybe you want to use the deployment pipeline and move it to production, and you want to change the value from the production or the development version of your SQL database to the production version, and it's grayed out. Those are frustrating. That's time that you spent having to then go republish the semantic model when you just wanted to update one thing. So these are just 4 representative kind of things that when I'm reviewing code or I have other Power BI experts on my current team review code, these are things we look out for newer developers, or even for ourselves. Just there's a bunch of things that could come across, and you might catch 3 out of the 4, but you didn't catch the 4th one. So to compound that issue, the challenge is Power Query is everywhere. So many of you know how Power Query is used in Power BI Desktop. We use it to build semantic models. That's the classic one. But we also have it for building data flows. So many of you, if you've gotten Fabric, you have the access to data flows Gen 2. If you're using Pro or even Premium per user, historically you've had access to the data flows Gen 1. How many of the folks on here, I can see just a couple of you, use Power Platform or Power Apps? You can actually build data flows in environments in the Power Platform, and that's M code. Looks very similar to the data flow Gen 1, Gen 2 interface, but it's wrapped in the Power Platform, and you can write data flows to move data between SharePoint lists and Dataverse, or from SharePoint lists to SharePoint lists. So that there's another aspect of where Power Query code can show up, and similar issues crop up as well. And then the classic, and where I got started, you have the ability to access Power Query in Excel and Power Pivot. So I know a lot of folks, if you're in analytics or financial or healthcare, you live in Excel and you leverage Power Pivot, which is supported through the Power Query is what runs it in order to run your analytics. And then finally, which is a newer one, and not very many people are aware of this, but paginated reports now allow for building Power Query. So you can actually connect to a semantic model, connect to a data flow, update some steps in Power Query within paginated reports, and build a paginated report. So you have all these kind of avenues in which Power Query gets built, and you want to be able to review and make sure that that Power Query code is not only maintainable, but avoid some of those common pitfalls that come with working with Power Query. And those pitfalls can come from a number of areas. So I mentioned the sort area, table.sort after removing duplicates before you sort. If you don't buffer it, you're going to run into an issue. Maybe you're using a version of the SharePoint connector that's really slow. Those are things that by default, Microsoft says, hey, you can use it, but best practice, if you want that refresh to run faster, you might want to use a different connector. There's all these little things over the years that as I've worked with it and several other folks I've worked with it, we've kind of had this like checklist of things that we always wanted to look for before moving it to production or test. And that kind of leads me to the next slide, which I have been working long enough in this this industry that I've had some failures. And probably many of you have had failed data projects or at least stumbles through your projects. And I, on one particular project, I definitely drank way too much Red Bull and ate way too much chocolate that would have been healthy just to like stay up and manage and babysit this project. And I looked for another opportunity or a way to do the project better. And I came across this principle or a set of principles called DataOps, and I won't go into it further, but you can look it up. There's a wonderful DataOps cookbook out there that introduces you to the concept. But the idea is that if you embrace these principles in DataOps, you can increase the amount of content and features you deliver, but reduce the amount of errors that reach production. And one of the main kind of principles around DataOps is the concept of quality is paramount. And when it comes to the perspective of Power Query and working with Power Query, the goal of quality is paramount is you really want to prevent newer Power BI team members from making the mistakes that you have. One of the things that I don't really like when folks are like, well, you made that mistake. All of us go through that mistake of working with Power BI. How do we avoid that? If you're managing a team, how do we make sure that if you're bringing on somebody who's newer to Power BI, maybe they came from the Click and Tableau world and they're really good at what they do. They just got to learn the new tool. How do we make sure that they can avoid the same mistakes that you and your team or other experts in the community have come across over the years? And the less mistakes they can make on the front end, and learn early, the less mistakes end up in the production environment affecting your clients. So that's kind of number one. The second is DataOps stresses the idea of analytics as manufacturing. So how do we make the conveyor belt, so to speak, of moving data into Power BI and getting it to our customers to act like an assembly line and make it efficient? Well, in this case, from the kind of the Power Query lens, we want to reduce the time it takes for the Power BI leaders or the reviewers to review code. There is nothing more time consuming in analytics and in the coding industry than doing a peer review. And if we can reduce the amount of time and avoid mistakes or misses, the better off we are getting that content to production. So that leads us, if you can think about these two principles, quality is paramount in analytics and manufacturing, that kind of leads us to what we built and offer out on the web now. It's called Power Query Lint. Power Query Lint, the term lint, I put the definition out there. If you come from the software development industry, lint is probably a common term you've used, but it's jargon. It basically says it's the process of automatically checking your code for potential issues and best practices. So if you work with JavaScript, you work with Python, you work with COBOL, all those have some sort of linting practices out there, and they have tools for linting. And the one thing we noticed, Power Query didn't have a linter. It's a low-code tool, but it's built off of M code or Power Query code. And so under the hood, there is code that's running the transformation of your data. And we wanted to build out a set of rules that identify potential issues and best practices so that our newer Power BI developers can get their code reviewed automatically and kind of understand what they need to fix. And on the back end, the Power BI leaders, the ones who are reviewing the code, can spend less time having to click through and review the code, and they can quickly find out if there's any issues. And we've offered that under a free tier. There is a paid version, which I'll talk about. But if you're interested, we have a free version of the tool. And that leads me to demo time. So let's kind of set the stage with a sample Power BI file here. Just to confirm, I know I switched from slides. You all can still see the, you should be able to see Power BI desktop now.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, excellent. So I've got a sample file out here. The GitHub pages that I have hyperlinked in these slides will take you, you can download this sample. And it's just pull some data out from GitHub. And this is kind of representative of a basic semantic model. And you've got a couple of dimension tables out here, and you can work with parameters, just a very simple file. So let's say you're newer to working with the semantic model, and you just want to understand, is there anything I need to avoid or things I need to do to clean up the code? So you can go out to our website here. It's called powerquerylint.com. Let me just turn on Zoom it real quickly. I thought I had it on, but apparently it did not turn on. Let me just put that app real quick. Let me zoom here. There we go. So you can go to pqlint.com, powerquerylint.com, and it's going to take you to an interface here. You don't need to log in just yet. The free version allows you to work with it. And at the top here, we've got our navigation that I'll show you here in a second. It'll show you whether you're logged in or not. And then this is where the main window is. This is where you would work. So all you have to do is go to your semantic model. So let's say I want to take a look at the date dimension I've just updated. I can just copy it. So all I've done is right click and copied, paste the code, and then hit lint. So depending on the size of your data, it might take a little while for it to process. But what it's going to do is it's going to go through all the code that you have here. The nice thing about when you copy a Power Query table is it's going to copy all the dependencies too. So if there's any issues with the dependencies, it will show that as well. And then on the right, when it finishes processing, what you'll see is a set of issues. And we've kind of categorized them in two areas. You either have your best practice. Those are things that you should consider updating your code just to make it more manageable. And then we have potential issues. Those are ones, we highlight them in red because from our experience, if you don't deal with them, you're going to have problems in test and production. And so for this one, we've got this issue called use table buffer before table remove duplicates to preserve sort order. And the way we identify it is you've got this title for your rule, a brief explanation of the rule, and then if there's any other content that you can learn about the rule, we've provided a hyperlink to it. So in this case, if you were to click on the link, we have started putting out rules and videos that teach you about that rule. So if you're new to sorting and removing duplicates and want to understand what that rule is, you can click on the link, look at my ugly mug here, and hit the play button. And then we'll walk you through how to fix what that issue is and how to fix it. If the content, we haven't built videos on it, we also have links to community forums. So in this case, this will take you out to one of the well-known Excel gurus in the area and I believe his explanation of it. And so what we've tried to do is compile, whether it's our content on our YouTube channel or industry driven or community driven content, we have links for you to learn more about it. So we were hoping that if you're a newer developer or you're just getting started with Power BI and you see that's an issue, you can get kind of hooked into the community and understand there's other folks in the community who are writing about this and can teach you about how to be more proficient at working in Power Query. So when I clicked on that link, you'll also notice that it took me to the line of code that that issue was present in, and it was in the date dimension. And so if I was to work with this code, I could just go back to, and I watched the video. If I went to the date dimension here, where I needed to fix that code is when I was doing that sort, what I needed to do is make sure that I wrap that in a table.buffer to preserve the sort order. And then now if, like, let's say I right click to the advanced editor here, and I can see I've added in that table.buffer. So now later on, when I remove the duplicates, the sort order is preserved. And so that way I'm actually removing the duplicates in the sort order that I wanted to preserve it in. And then if I've updated that code now, I can go back, copy it, go back to Power Query Lint, hit the clear button, paste the code, and now that issue is gone. So now I've removed that potential issue from being in the code that I would then publish to the workspace. And we've got other items in here, renaming steps. So one of the things that we have as a best practice, and this is not only just me, but if we're looking at other blogs out there, SQL Server, bi.blog, if I click on this link, we've got Paul Turley's blog about making sure that you have good coding practices. I recommend going to his site. But having just change type 1 in your query step doesn't really help you. And what you should be looking at is taking advantage of the features in query settings where you can right click, go to properties, and you can actually say, I change type of year. And then you can even add a description, converted year from text to integer. And so now you'll see that that step has been updated. And even if I hover over it, it gives you the description. So not only does Power Query Lint give you good ideas about how to remove potential issues, but these best practices that you put in place. Now, if I'm looking to see, hey, when did the year type change, or I'm looking at a certain step, instead of having to click on it and have Power BI Desktop process it, which takes up CPU and could slow down, you can quickly just hover over and figure out where those descriptions or where you need to update the code, which is super helpful. And Power Query Lint introduces you to those concepts and helps you kind of get through those. Another one that we typically run into is when you add a custom column. Usually when you add a new column, the next step you'll have is change type. In Power BI Desktop, you can actually change that where you can just add a fourth parameter. Now in data flows, they give you this option, but in Power BI Desktop, and I've got the latest version here, I'm doing the date here. I can just do type date. And so now it already converted it to a date type. And so instead of the next step that I would have to do is change the type, it's doing it in one step. And from reading Paul Turley's blog, the less steps you have, the more efficient your Power BI refreshes will be. And it's just a simple change in table.add column that you can eliminate an additional step by doing this, and Power Query Lint highlights that. So we've got a number of rules that you can use. And if you're interested in understanding what those rules are, up at the top here, you can click on rules. And right now we have roughly 88 rules. You can see their name, the description, the categorization, whether it's potential issue or best category, or I'm sorry, best practice, and then the license level. We offer a lot of the rules for free. You can see which ones you'd have to, there's a paid version subscription. And really the paid version helps support the channel, support us running it, and then the references to the content. So if we have a YouTube channel, you'll see these links. So if you're just trying to understand what rules are out there, you can use our rules feature as well. Now, Power Query Lint, as many of you know, Power Query is not just beholden to Power BI Desktop. You can do it in data flows as well. And so if I go to a data flow here, let me just refresh the page. We've built in rules to address some of the common issues that we run into with data flows as well. Now, let me just go to edit. So let's say I want to do a review on the data flows. I can do the same thing I did in Power BI Desktop and hit copy. And let me just log in real quick just to show you a couple other features. So if I paste here and hit lint, we've got some other rules here. One of them is using parameterized URLs in web.content. So you'll notice that here I hard-coded my URL to pull out an Excel workbook. What I probably should do is make that a parameter so that if I'm moving that data flow between workspaces, I can update that if I got a dev test production version. It's better to do that. The other one here, which we see a lot of times in data flows, is when you save a data flow, if you didn't explicitly set the type, and when you explicitly set the type, it goes from ABC123 to whatever type you set it to. Data flows, before it closes, will will automatically transform everything to text and then remove any errors. So if you have certain content that you didn't explicitly state in your steps, there's a good chance that if there's an error, that cell gets removed. So you actually are removing data from your model that you would normally anticipate. So it's a best practice, or you run into a potential issue that if you didn't deal with that issue, somebody might look at a row of data and it misses that on the aggregation. This happens a lot with like SharePoint lists, where maybe the first 1,000 rows you're working with a lookup and it's a multi-lookup, but you didn't anticipate it to be a multi-lookup. And so it's got a list value in here instead of a text value. And then it eliminated all your multi-lookup values. And so these are things that you definitely want to avoid with data flows. And Power Query Lint, just by pasting the code in here and taking a look, highlights that issue for you. And I can't tell you how many times that I've used this tool where I do a lot of data flow work. I come here and I forgot that last step. So not only for newer Power BI developers, but somebody who's been working in Power Query for a number of years in Power BI, this just helps keep you honest to make sure you're not making those mistakes, because there's a lot of these little mistakes that you can make. And then we've got some other ones here about using Excel tables instead of sheets. If you're working in Excel or you're pulling in Excel data, it's usually best practice to have the table name instead of the sheet name, because as we know, especially if you're relying on other people to work in those Excel sheets, you change the schema of the Excel sheet and you're importing into Power BI, there's a good chance you're going to break the refresh. So if you're using table references instead of sheet references, you're less likely to run into issues. That's just a best practice. So there's a lot of these capabilities that we've built into the tool that you can work with. Now, if you're working with the paid version of Power Query Lint, we also offer the TMDL linter. And I know TMDL is a relatively new concept, but recently Microsoft just went GA on the TMDL view. So if you are working with the September release of Power BI Desktop, TMDL view has become GA. You click on it, you can actually script out your whole semantic model into TMDL. And if I script that to a tab here and I scroll all the way down, you can see there's these sections that actually have your Power Query code. And we've got it. So let's say you want to just lint the whole TMDL model. Well, you can copy that, clear here, hit TMDL, paste, and then it will lint the whole TMDL model. So all the code, and not just the code, the Power Query code, but it'll also look at some of the naming practices that you have for your functions. It's usually best practice that for your functions, you start it with FN or FX. It also will see if you're not using groups and you have more than 5 tables, you should use groups. And what I mean by that is a best practice we've seen is if you got more than 5 tables, you should be putting them into groups. And then that way, if you got like 20 or 50 tables, it's not just one long list of tables. You've actually grouped them together appropriately, so it's easier to find that content. And so the lint TMDL feature will highlight that and tell you about things that you need to do in order to have better Power Query and semantic models. And so that's the easy button that we provide. We also have in the free version, there's a scan TMDL code feature. If you are bringing code from outside your organization, and there's these galleries out here now as TMDL becomes more popular, and especially as you're going to see user-defined functions become more popular, bringing outside code into your organization is TMDL code is no different than downloading that Excel file that has a macro in it. It's script, it's code, and it could access things that you don't necessarily want it to do. We've offered about 10 to 12 different rules. You can paste the TMDL code from the outside source into here, and you can lint it, and it will highlight any issues that, based on our understanding, you should consider when bringing that code into your organization. So you can think about it from a security perspective. If the TMDL code you're bringing in is accessing your file content, trying to execute a SQL query, going out to a web page and doing an HTTP post request, those are all things that maybe you just wanted to bring in that code to build a date dimension, but it's very easy to obfuscate that code. And so this just kind of helps you understand if you're bringing code from outside, be aware of how it's behaving. And for folks, I know many of you probably came from Excel and have heard the macros or it gets disabled in your organization. You should think of TMDL scripts that you bring in from outside as the same thing. And we've offered this for free for you to just kind of understand what you're getting yourself into in terms of bringing outside TMDL code.
Hey, John, while we're talking TMDL, there was one question that came in the chat from Emmanuel. He asked if you can upload TMDL files into your tool from PBIP.
Well, you're a great segue. I will show you how to do that here in a second. So we actually offer an API. And this week we actually released it where if as long as you sign in with a Microsoft account, you don't have to pay for this. We offer a free version of the API. So you'll get access to the same rules under the free version, and we have an API limit, and you can have it iterate over the TMDL files and call the API and get the rule results. So if you, one of the things we offer at the very bottom here is we've got YouTube videos on how to do it in Azure DevOps and a Fabric notebook. So I'll quickly show you on the Azure DevOps side. So if you're using PBIP, and for those who aren't familiar with PBIP, it's the way we can actually save Power BI files in plain text format, which is really beneficial for Git integration. You'll have to turn on these features for right now. I'm hoping it goes GA at some point. We use it in our production projects right now just because it's a lot nicer to have version control than it is not to have version control. But once you save in the PBIP format, if I go back to here, if I hit save as, I'll get the opportunity to save it into a file. folder. And that file folder will then have your semantic model defined as TMDL. And if I was to use our example project here, if you follow this video, I have a guide that will take you to our website here that has a code here that you can import into Azure DevOps. So let me just walk you through that real quick. So if I've got a repository here, I can import that repository, and it's going to bring over the sample model that I have, but also the pipeline code that you need to run over the TMDL files. So the idea being is if you commit your Power BI file to source control, you can have a pipeline kick off the Power Query Lint. And all you need to do, and I walk through this in the steps, is if you go to your library, you can set up a variable group. And that same subscription key, you copy that and you paste it in here. And then make sure you have the little lock icon, because then it gets encrypted and then you're not putting passwords in plain text and having your security officer yell at you about it. Once you have this set up, the pipeline, all you have to do is go to new pipeline, pick the repo that you just imported, and it will default to this Azure pipeline for you. And it's looking that anytime you commit to, right now it's the main branch, you can update it to any branch you like, but it's looking for changes in the TMDL files. And what it will do is iterate over all those TMDL files and run the API and send the TMDL file to the API and get the potential issues and the best practices back. And we have it right now logging that. So let me give you an example here. So let's say I am in Power Query code here. And let's say I create a new parameter. I'm just going to call it test. And for demo purposes, I'm going to forget to convert that to a text type. And if I hit save, apply those changes, in the schema. There we go. All right, so now that I've saved it, if I go to my Git button here, it'll show that I've probably added a new parameter. So I can see here in the Git that it shows me that I made those change. I'm just going to put a commit message in here. And by virtue of committing this code back to the Azure DevOps repo, it will iterate through the TMDL files and run the linter. And you can see it kicked off here. But for the sake of time, you can see one of them running. It actually will iterate through all the TMDL files. So you can see up at the top here, it's going to go through 7 TMDL files, go through each of those, and then it writes out to Azure DevOps any of the best practices as warnings and any of the potential issues as errors, and then it'll give a synopsis at the end. Now, we have it in the code that it will fail the pipeline, so you can get an email that potential issues have occurred. It will skip warnings, but if there's any potential issues, it won't let, it will notify the administrator of the project that there's an issue. But it gives you a nice little synopsis at the end of where the failures are and what you can do to fix them. So this is a way that you can have it iterate over the TMDL files using Azure DevOps. It's an example of the API. You can also do it in a Fabric notebook, which I have here. And we offer this as something you can download, but it's going to use Semantic Link Labs. And what we recommend for right now is you would store that subscription key in a Azure Key Vault. And if you store it in Azure Key Vault, the secret's encrypted and not stored in plain text in your notebook. This step right here goes out and grabs that subscription key, and then the rest of this code will run through the model that you pointed to. So in here, I have it pointed to a workspace, and that workspace ID, I'm using the semantic link in Fabric to point to the workspace, and then it'll iterate over all the semantic models in the workspace and run the linter on it. The only one we skip is the user metrics report, because that's not a semantic model that we can make changes to. That's Microsoft's one. It will iterate through all those, use the tabular object model to grab the TMDL and Power Query code, and then issue the API call to get the potential issues and best practices. And then you can see here, I've got for each one of the tables, it just outputs the results. And then it's up, you can think of this as the template, and you can do with the data frame what you want. You can have it right back to a data lake. You can have it maybe send an email, call another API if it hits certain issues. But this is a way you can actually scan workspaces and have it iterate through all the Power Query in those workspaces as well. And the API allows that. So hopefully that helps answer the question on can I iterate over through TMDL, and that the API is something that we released a couple months back, but this week we actually make it available under the free version. You just need to sign in to a Microsoft account or a Microsoft Enable account, so that way when you create the key, it's tied to a Microsoft account. And if you're using Power BI, there's a good chance you got a Microsoft account. And then if you're interested at all outside of Azure DevOps or using the Fabric notebooks, we have an open API definition that you can download. And I be honest with you, it's really easy to take that open AI definition and point it to ChatGPT and say, hey, build a wrapper. So if you're trying to use it in another language other than YAML, PowerShell, or Python, the open API specification is pretty good at creating those wrappers. We tried to build at least those wrappers for those because we know that that's probably the more commonly used implementations in a Microsoft ecosystem. All right. I know we're coming close to time, Michael, and that we okay maybe go maybe five more minutes or that?
Yeah, we actually should be good till one central. So
okay,
plenty
excellent.
of time.
Excellent. So in some of the paid feature, I want to introduce you to something that we use quite a bit. And one of the things that we all hate doing is commenting our code. I showed you how you have to right click on here and click on properties and change the type and update the description. Well, we've built into the paid version, if you copy this code and I paste it here, what it's going to do is use Azure OpenAI to go through a set of instructions. And we have it set up where it's going to update the name of the step, add comments, and then also parse the code again. One of the things that we've noticed that there's certain models that while it does a good job of commenting the code, it actually breaks the code because it doesn't necessarily know Power Query that well or adds an errant comma. So if I copy it here, what it's done, I'll show you here in a second. What it's done is it's added all these comments and it's renamed the steps, but it also validates to make sure it's parsable Power Query code, that's why it runs a little bit longer than what you would do, let's say, if you were trying to do this in ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot. It validates that the actual AI updates are meeting the expected behavior. Let's go. I'm just going to duplicate this table just to show you the difference. if I paste the code here and hit done, you'll notice that now it's all the same steps, but it's added in the updates, the names, and added in comments. And so if you can think about how much time you either avoid or would have to spend having somebody comment this code, with this feature, it did it in less than 30 seconds. And if you're doing this on a routine basis, or you're making updates to your model, it's very common that you would want to go back and comment the code. And so a lot of what we do is, you're getting near the end of your model being ready for test or production, we'll go through and just have it comment the code for us. And it's usually as good, or if not better, than if I was to go through and comment the code. Because it does, you know, a lot of these models are really good at understanding code. They don't necessarily know how to add comments in correctly. So we added in a feature to make sure it parses correctly. And so now if I want to know, oh, I appended that data table, or this is where I added an index, or this is where I added in the end date column. Instead of it being added custom 50 or added custom 10, it actually has it spelled out. So I don't have to click on it again. And so that's one of the features we put in for the paid version. And quite honestly, if we could make it for free, we would, but Azure OpenAI likes its money, so we got to cover the cost for that. If you know, you run through all this code, or you've seen this demo today and you're interested in using it, and you may not have gotten everything out of it, or you need a refresher, we do have a YouTube channel. Down at the bottom here, you can go to the YouTube channel. We try to post every week, introducing you to it. I'm hoping I get some other presenters here soon, so you don't have to look at my face all the time on here. But we try to add rules and videos on that, and we try to come out with content every week. So that way you're introduced to how new rules, how to best practices, and Power Query and Power BI is changing all the time. So we're continually adding rules to our product. For example, there's a new rule and it just happened. So I hope you don't have anything broken, but if you're using the AI functions, the cognitive services and data flows and semantic models, you might want to check your code to make sure it's actually running, because they deprecated that feature. We showed you a way where you can scan your environment for those broken semantic models because it's looking for those functions. So we're constantly adding stuff, and there's always great content from the community and new features that Microsoft's adding that is going to influence how these rules get put together. And then finally, if you want to learn more about the company I work for, Client First Technology, if you want to learn more about what we have planned, we have a roadmap on what we're doing for the next 6 months to the year with the tool. We're hoping as soon as Microsoft GA something with an MCP server, we'll be able to support that feature, which I know would be really nice to do it in Visual Studio Code. We actually have a working version, but until it goes GA, I don't want to have anybody use that. And then finally, if you have ideas and you're using the tool, you can contact us and offer suggestions on how to improve the tool, or rules that you think might be helpful. And then last but not least, the slides here. I've got the QR code up here that you can download the slides. And if you're interested in using the pro version, we do have the first month's free. That's the coupon code there. So yeah, so if you're interested in using the pro version, you can use it for the first month free without any charge, and you can cancel anytime. So we try not to lock you into using it. And again, we have a free version out there available to you. And with that, I'll open any questions, Michael and team. And if you want me to show any other features, happy to do it. And I hope you learned something just using the tool, and maybe make you a better Power BI developer.
Yeah, that's great stuff, John. Really, really cool tool. Really useful.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. The only other question that had come in, I think you've already answered it, but just in case you want to add a little more color to it. It was asked if back when you were talking about the APIs, if it was possible to use the tool as part of a CI/CD pipeline on GitHub, very similar to what you were doing with Azure DevOps, where your deploy to production occurs only if the lint passes.
Yeah, so we haven't published it yet, but we're working on a video for GitHub Actions. The YAML file that we have works in Azure DevOps. It can be tweaked very easily to work in GitHub Actions. It's running PowerShell code, so if you've got an agent and you've got PowerShell code, you can modify it to work for GitHub Actions. We're working on a example on how to do that in GitHub Actions right now. It's capable today. We just haven't put the demo out for it. And then what I would suggest is if you're trying to do it, that if it hits a potential issue, we have the logging built out where it would fail the pipeline, which would then not create an artifact for release. And so that's the way that we do that. If it hits warnings, and it'll build the artifact and move it to a release, but you can have it where it fails the pipeline on release. And then one other thing that you can take a look at if you're looking for inspiration, on my blog site, I've got a walkthrough on how to set this up and have it saved to Fabric. So you can save the test results to, and I show you how to save it to a event house. So one of the benefits of saving it to an event house is that's real time. So if you want to be able to query that table for test results that are failing in real time, as the pipeline saving it, it will save it in real time. And this is really good for dashboard reporting as well as pull requests reviews. So in the articles I'll be publishing here in the next month or so, you'll see how if it's saved to a KQL database or an event house, you can actually have on a pull request, it query that data to make sure that that pull request, everything's past your validation. And having that stored centrally, your test results centrally, makes you as a Power BI team more analytic. So I know for many of us, we build analytic tools that are evaluating your organization's processes or your profit or the number of people you're bringing on board. A lot of the times we don't eat our own dog food. We should be holding ourselves to some analytic standard on how well our tests are going, how often do things fail in production. This kind of introduces you to how to do that using like Power Query Lint to help start linting and testing your code and producing analytics on it.
What other questions do you all have for John?
Yeah, if there's anything else you want to see, I know, Michael, if you've got any horror stories yourself on things you've made mistakes on in Power Query in the past, that
So many.
so many, right?
Yes. Yes.
I do have one question for John. I put it into chat, but maybe I can expand a little more. That how about link the code that is coming from agent or AI tools? Like someone says like, hey, Copilot, can you give me this Power Query or check this? And then it completely mess it up. Like then they paste that into Power BI, or what will be like the appropriate recommendation for someone like they are transitioning to Power BI, they're using or leverage Copilot or any AI tools, and they are messing it up every time that they ask for something, and then they break the report or they break the whole backend just because they didn't have like maybe a link tool like this one to check before.
So PBIP is really important to support that, because now you're probably opening up in Visual Studio Code. you're using GitHub Copilot or you're going over to ChatGPT and saying, hey, build this Power Query or update this Power Query. If you're saving a PBIP, it's a lot easier to keep versions so you can roll back. And then with the API, at least for this tool, you can just call the API with like a PowerShell script and have it look at the code. We're working on an MCP server where you could just have it in GitHub Copilot say like, hey, create this code and then also lint it to make sure they didn't break it syntactically and it passes lint. We're just waiting on it going GA so we kind of support the scale or at least the authentication piece that we're not necessarily seeing right now. But the idea would be is if you can store it in PBIP, you're still having it make changes, you can then use like the PowerShell script that I provide to lint the code from Visual Studio Code, or also have it in your Azure DevOps pipeline. The other thing I would suggest outside of Power Query Lint is leverage testing through DAX Query View. So I've got a bunch of things on my, if you go to my blog about the DAX Query View testing pattern. If folks are changing the Power Query code or you're having AI change the Power Query code, your DAX query files can test whether or not your schema, your content, and the calculations are meeting your expectations. So one of the biggest things that I stress with using AI is testing. AI just exacerbates the lack of testing that we've had in Power BI over the last couple of years, because you can easily change code and not necessarily know what regression errors you're introducing. And so if you build out your test cases in DAX Query View, you can actually have it run through and make sure, did the schema change? Does the revenue add up to $1 million for last year as expected? When I filter this data, does the column have all these values? Is it distinct? Like, did the AI update the Power Query code and all of a sudden I got duplicates because I forgot to add in the remove duplicates function? Having testing in place, so you got like Power Query Lint that helps with the syntax and best practice with the code, coupled with like DAX Query View testing pattern, can make sure that the output of the results of the Power Query code running and building your tables is sound. That's the good foundation. It's good to have testing in place in order to support, the people leveraging AI. I hope that answers your question, Emmanuel.
Yeah, totally. And in this case, the test can be incorporated in the notebook, like in that same Power BI report. That it would be great just to, whenever you make a change, run these scripts to make sure and validate that the values are still there, that you have all the rows that you need, all the columns and everything matches the original data that you were.
Exactly. And that's probably one of the best things I've seen come out on Power BI Desktop, me personally, is DAX Query View. Because now you can put your tests with your semantic model and just tell people, hey, click through, just to start with, just make sure you got your tests. And then other folks are using the updated semantic model. They know they can go through the tests and everything's tightly coupled, which is really nice.
That's pretty nice. Yeah. And also it can be, like if someone has Fabric capacity, they can put it in something like in a notebook and then compare that to the original source. For example, you have your goal tables and it's like, okay, does something that I did in that Power Query is changing the semantic model so much that now is not aligning with my goal tables.
Correct. Yeah, you can do that. We actually, I got an example of how you can test schemas. So you can store versions of your schema in DAX, and then you can save that as your in Fabric, and then compare it. So that way, like if the schema changed and you weren't expecting it, can your Fabric notebook can send you an alert.
Okay. Are you using like info.view?
Yep. So if you look, this will generate it's using the info.view measures, and then it actually generates a data table, that represents the DAX, and we store that, and then that can get translated into your schema here. So this is the hard-coded expected, and then it calculates it at runtime on what the actual is. And then we have it set up where if I uncomment that code, if I go to result 2, it actually shows you what's changed in the schema. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thanks for all the questions. Phenomenal questions. John, thank you so much. This was like really great. I'm actually going to try your product out after this call. So this was phenomenal. Thank you so much for everybody for joining. And then, as we said in the beginning, we have 2 sessions coming up in October and November, and then be on the lookout for a social session as well for everybody in Nashville. Mike Hewitt and Sean, they're looking. So if you're looking for a job, hit them up. And with that, we'll talk to y'all next month. Appreciate y'all for joining and spending the time with us today.